My microphone was not set as the microphone. So that whole stream I had earlier, which ended up getting cut off, had no mic audio. You could see me talking, but you couldn't hear me talking. So you couldn't hear what I was talking about. Bear in mind, I'm pretty damn sure I had my microphone set to my Siren X. You know, the $100 microphone I bought several months ago before I started saving up for the new PC. Yeah, so let me explain why that happened. OBS updates. I understand that updates are a normal thing with technology and programs, but when they mess up your settings and make it to where the microphone you normally use is no longer your default, I really wish it would set the default as like one of the microphones. So what I mean by this is you can choose which device you want as default. So say for example you have a Siren X like me, or maybe you want to use your webcam like this Kia right here, and you want to set that as your default microphone. It'll let you choose that as default. So it'll say the name of the device and then right next to it in parentheses is default. I wish they would let you do that, but no, I had to painstakingly go over here, realize that my voice wasn't even being captured. So that means that the entire stream earlier was not having any audio picked up except for what was going on the screen. Anyway, because you didn't hear anything last stream, because OBS updates really, really hate me, Sonic Frontiers is absolutely awesome, but due to how long the game is and me realizing that I would need to play through the whole game to have an adequate Let's Play this time around, I am going to have to delay the stream to a later point. It's not going to be a very long time, it's just going to be a little after I'm done with the game. I'm not going to play through it on hard mode like some people have recommended, partially because of the fact that the final boss is a bullet hell, apparently. All I'm saying, I'm not going to say any spoilers, that's all I'm saying. That's left up to interpretation. Yeah. Anyway, hopefully Google Earth doesn't murder my PC. Okay. That's not what I meant. Okay, please don't. Google Earth, please don't do it. Don't myrtleize what I'm doing, please. I think it's also because I had more than one tab open, and it doesn't, like, oh. Yeah, okay, now it works. Okay. So the stream from earlier, I was trying to show what I was talking about. So, I got the game yesterday at 7:34 a.m., not p.m. You're probably thinking, wait, you left your home at 7 something? Yes. So, let me explain what happened. So, 6 a.m., or a little after 6, I wake up, and, well, actually, I just happened to have woken up at that time, and I was like, you know what? If I'm gonna get this game first thing in the morning, I need to make sure I leave at a good time so that way I can get back home and give myself plenty of time to play some of the game to, have fun, as you would with any video game. So, yeah. Typically, the route that I usually take is I would leave the neighborhood going this way. Oh, wait, no. I was pointing at the houses, like where they are. Alright. I would go that way, follow along here on the sidewalk, or, yeah. By the way, this stuff is not up to date. And then there would be a Dunkin' Donuts and stuff, so I'd cut through here, and I would sort of like walk this way, go over to this intersection, cross, go to Walmart, and that's how I get there. What I did this time to make it a little bit more straightforward was I would follow the route for the most part until I got to here. Instead, I went in a straight line following the sidewalk, did the intersection thing, went up to here, and went into the store, went up to the electronics, got the game, and I did the whole thing in reverse to get back home. By the time I got home, it was like 8 something a.m., I want to say, and I have to say I made pretty good on time. Yeah, but what's funny is my papa saw that I was awake at that time whenever I first woke up, and I went ahead and got dressed. He was like, "What are you doing up so early?" And I said, "Oh, I just woke up." And he was like, "Oh, okay." So I hope whoever is in there knows how to dry off their hands, because I think I know who that is. Anyway, yeah, so, can I please not have voice cracks? Please? Can I just have a normal adult male voice instead of having, like, a prepubescent voice crack every 5 seconds? Because, like, normally I have those whenever I have a sore throat from, like, allergies or something, but I feel just fine. So, yeah. Of course, it might be because of the fact that earlier today I choked on some soda whenever I was laughing at something. Yeah, story of my life. Never laugh while drinking. Because, it's a death sentence. Anyway, yeah. So, I got home, plopped in the game. I, tried using the voucher code, and it didn't work at first because of the fact that the game literally is connected to the internet, so it wasn't even authorized yet. Like, the code was still technically valid, it was just not activated yet. So you have to, like, I had to wait, which, I mean, there's probably a consequence for waking up earlier than usual just to get a game at Walmart. Which, again, my papa didn't even mind that because I let him know what was going on, so he didn't mind as long as I was safe. And I was, obviously. Yeah, I have to say, I just reached Chaos Island several hours ago, and I have to say, this game, pardon the language, this game is very fucking good. I was not expecting to be blown away with this game. The story is amazing, is exactly what I was hoping for. The amount of exploration and traversal and everything that you could do is outstanding. And while the skill tree isn't quite as big as any, like, it's not like the same kind of skill tree that you'd see in a major RPG game like, say Cyberpunk or anything like that. But it's good enough to where you unlock these special abilities that you can use in combat, and they're still very effective, especially when you're supersonic. Yeah, supersonic is actually relevant in this game. Thank you, Ian Flynn. Thank you. And speaking of Ian Flynn, don't even get me started on the way the characters were written, because that is literally the stuff of legends. They are literally back to being how they once were back when I was a kid. The way I remember them. They aren't like, when Pontac and Graff were writing the scripts and everything. Ian Flynn is a godsend to the Sonic franchise. Because for the longest time, he's been writing the IDW comics, and I think he also wrote some of the Archies, or maybe it's been entirely IDW. But just going off that alone, you can tell straight away this guy knows Sonic front and back. So it was a no-brainer that the story, characterization of everything, and even the new lore would be just top-notch. You can't beat it. It's literally the Sonic game that we fans have been hoping for. And it's crazy to think that, because for the past, 9 years or so, we've had nothing but mostly mediocrity. I mean, Generations is good, but at the same time, we have 2 different timelines. I'm glad they retconned that, by the way. It's no longer canon that there's 2 different Sonic. It's literally how it should have been this whole time. And that is that the Sonic that we're playing in Frontiers is the same Sonic that we've known and loved since 91. That's the way it ought to have been. And, granted, I haven't beaten this game yet, and even after I've beaten it, it'll take me a while to plan everything out, how I'm going to approach everything, what I'm going to be streaming, how many episodes there are, and all that stuff. But what I can tell you is that so far, this is literally a 10 out of 10. And I'm not saying that as a joke like I did with Forces 5 years ago. This is literally a 10 out of 10 Sonic experience. Now, in terms of, general video games that have come out, it's not a 10 out of 10. It'd be more like a 9 out of 10. But in terms of, just rating all the different Sonic games, that's a 10 out of 10. At least in terms of the 3D games. If you want my 10 out of 10 for the 2D games, I'm not going to say Mania because everyone puts that on their 10 out of 10 list. Or however they review games. But, yeah. Now, how I'm going to do the actual final score of Frontiers will boil down to 6 different criteria. Replayability, story, control, visuals, sound design, and enjoyability. I know that enjoyability probably isn't even a word, but I just made it up. It's funny, me and my aunt had talked about this several hours ago. She said that anything can be a new word if you think about it. So, you could make up something that probably isn't an actual word in the dictionary, but it still makes sense given the proper context. So, enjoyability, actually, I need to look that up. Anyway, I've already shown you the route about how I usually get to there. I'm gonna... Sonic actually mentions Shamar from Unleashed in Frontiers. Or I think it might have been cut dialogue, I don't remember. But, yeah, anyway. Getting back to State Guesser. What I was trying to say is that, what was I trying to say? You ever have those times where you talk about something and then you briefly cut away from that and then you try to remember it and your brain's just like, oh, right. So, oh, wait. It is a word. I thought that was a word I made up because I rarely ever hear people say words like that, so it leads me to believe that they are just fake words. But yeah, so visuals, story, if there is any. If not, for a racing game, I'm just going to leave that blank. Which that's not to say it's not gonna that's not gonna affect the total score of that game if it is a racing game that has no story. It's just, how it is. So visuals, story, sound design, replayability, accessibility, and this could be anything from like basic accessibility, like how Sonic Frontiers does it, where you can customize how Sonic controls, which I love that. Or you can go the extra mile, like with games like, Horizon Forbidden West, Ratchet and Clank Ripped Apart, God of War Ragnarok, and, The Last of Us Part 1, and I think Part 2 did this as well, where they expanded the accessibility options to be usable for people who, are disabled in some ways. So, for example, someone who may have a seeing problem, like, their eyesight isn't very good, maybe they're colorblind. They have colorblindness stuff. I think they might have stuff for people who are blind, maybe. I don't remember. But all I'm trying to say is they've made it to where it's accessible to more people, mainly people with disabilities, that accessible in a way that even those people can still enjoy the games, no matter how they may end up living their life. Like, they might be not capable of perceiving colors normally. Like, I can see all the colors here. But to someone who may have a seeing problem, they may not be able to. So by having those options, it'll be able to, like, highlight enemies, interactive objects, maybe pickup items, nearby ally characters, stuff like that. And it'll highlight them in a way that even the person playing who may have that seeing problem will be able to perceive them and see that, oh, that's an enemy over there. There's my ally right next to me. There's a few things of ammo right next to me. I like that. And while Sonic Frontiers doesn't have that same accessibility, what it does have in terms of accessibility is the overall control scheme that you can customize for Sonic. I should note, however, that this control scheme does not transfer over to cyberspace. And I'm going to be the odd, ugly duckling when I say this, but cyberspace stages are actually pretty cool. I have not gotten the S rank on 1-2. I think that's the one that people have trouble on. But I honestly don't mind, because you don't need to do all the cyberspace stages to get the vault keys for the Chaos Emeralds. You can go fishing with Big. Yeah, our big boy's back. Anyway, with that being said, how about we get to some city guessing? Yeah, so accessibility and enjoyability, which is, my overall enjoyment of the game. Like how much I liked it. Which, obviously, that's a 10. Obviously. Music's a 10. Story is so far a 10. I say so far because I've heard some people say that there may be some plot elements that might be lost to some people, but I don't know. Visuals, definitely a 10 out of 10. Again, I know about the pop-in, or wait, I said that in the earlier stream when you guys couldn't hear me. Yes, I know about the pop-in in the game. Here's the thing. Pop-in in video games, especially open world / open zone games, it's not all that rare. Games will do that if they are a certain kind of game, like an open world game, because it saves on resources and it prevents the device that the game is being played on from not being able to handle it well and possibly cause irreparable damage. However, I also know that this may end up being a glitch that they will have to patch. Because there have been a few glitches that people have experienced. I haven't experienced any personally, which is good. But, yeah. But I have to say, oh, right. So, what I'm gonna do for those 6 different criteria, or 5 again, if it's a game that doesn't need a story, if it's like a racing game or something, I'll rate them on a scale of 1 to 5. I'm kidding. A 1 to 10. And then I will take those as an average total, and whatever the average ends up being for the total score, that'll be the overall score for the game. So, for example, accessibility, it gets an 8 out of 10 because it doesn't go the extra mile with, accessibility for those who are disabled in some ways. But at the same time, like, I don't mean to sound insensitive or anything like that, but not all games have to do this. But I would like to see that someday. Maybe one day Sonic Frontiers will have that as an update. But for now, that is going to knock down the accessibility score. Because here's how my scores work for the different sub-scores that will make up the overall score. They'll start off with a 10, and for any negatives that I see concerning those different sub-scores, I will tack down the score by a certain amount, depending on how many cons there are in contrast to the pros. So, for example, Sonic Frontiers with its story, so far I haven't found any faults, so it already has a 10. But if there are any faults that I end up seeing or recognizing, I'll poke that down depending on how many discrepancies or any kind of issues or anything I have with it. I will take that down. So, say for example I see 3 cons with a certain criteria, that'll peg that down to 7 out of 10. If I only find 1 con, 9 out of 10. It's my own way of scoring stuff. I know it's weird, but it's a little bit more comprehensive than just, oh, I'm gonna give this a 10 out of 10 because I liked it. Because I was an idiot. Just told that to myself 5 years ago when I, again, gave that game a 10 out of 10. And not this game. Because this game didn't even exist yet. Oh, he's still there. Okay. Fly. One sec. Probably should guess. I'm gonna guess. I know this is not the right place, but okay, that is very much not the right place. I'm gonna put the game on. Although it's actually in my console, which is turned off right now, so to